All right. Welcome to the Zeall Show, episode 51, where the show is unscripted, uncensored, and unfiltered. And most importantly, it's all the normally all the OGs together on this show. But today we actually have OGs and new Gs on the show. But before that, I want to get a few messages to the viewers. First is please do subscribe to the Zeal Show newsletter. I do write the newsletter on the articles in X, but most of my followers are actually on the LinkedIn newsletter. I know a lot of X people don't like LinkedIn, okay, but the LinkedIn is where my most of the guys are when I try to get them to come on the show. They're actually all through my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so my LinkedIn on the Zoo Show newsletter will have a lot of the talks, a lot of the things that we learn from the shows, and all in text format, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is do subscribe to my YouTube because I for the people that want to know about the regulatory stuff, I do have the daily regulatory minutes. So the daily regulatory minutes, what I do here, so that you guys can see, if you go to, if I now change over to youtube.com, which I can then turn it on right here. Okay, you will see that I will have different channels. I basically have two different brands I'm building up. One is the Zeal Show, which is basically getting all the OGs, anything from crypto, fintech, anyone under the sun that want to talk about what's going on. And also Azentic Nexus, which is on my compliance and regulatory work, which founders that want to build up their presence in different places in complex jurisdictions from Europe to US. I have the experience to help them to build it up. So you can see from here that I have the shorts here, the different playlists, okay, which I'm building up. So the Zeal Shots is just the clips. Azentic Minute is where I do a daily, just regulatory 1 minute to get everyone updated. And then we have all the different, the Zeal Shots is the funniest ones, where anything under the sun, I'll basically, if I have thoughts, I will just make a video on it and try to do on a daily basis. Okay, without further ado, I think we have most of what I want to say. Let's move right to the guests. So I just want to give context how I got to know Pravang from the Indian crypto research. He was basically one of my followers. We were at the time when we were engaging on X. There was a time when Elon was saying, we have to engage each other, we have to talk more, and then that's where I got to know Pravang. We talked quite a bit. I was also on his spaces, and now when my show is up, it's my turn to invite him back to my show to return uh, the uh, the favor as well. So let me just bring all of them up. Okay, they were patiently waiting. So sorry, guys. How are you guys? Hi, Pravang. Hi, Rohit.
Hey,
Hi,
Anson, we're good.
Anson.
Great,
We are
great
Thanks
good,
for
to.
Prashant.
inviting us to your lovely show.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to make the show as rugged as no as not as prepared as possible because I know when I was working in my old firm, a lot of the Gen Zs they want to see unshiny, unscripted stuff. So I am following what they want just to do it their way. So yeah, so
100%.
let's start from the beginning. Maybe just introduce yourselves, who you guys are. Rohit.
Yeah, so I work as a product manager in a wallet infra company called Liminal. We have kind of maximum market share in the APAC region. And prior to that, I've built a company called Alphamint Labs. We were once valued at $3 million. And we used to put certificates on the blockchain. We used to explore various use cases that we could do with the blockchain and try to get it to the masses. So yeah, that's about me. But more than that, like I'm an avid crypto investor, a trader, like a hyper bull in the space, and really hope for the space to just keep growing as it is, and people to keep adopting it. And it's really nice that today, like when we are on the show last time, I remember when we did the show, the topic was 100K Bitcoin.
Now we're
And today,
back at
once
that point.
again, and
Oh
we're
my
back at that
gosh.
point today. Yeah. And we also had the ETH Spectra upgrade today. So now every validator can stake more than 2048 ETH, up to 2048 ETH. So we're at a good space today. Good day today.
This is what I call destiny, right? We were supposed to do it on this show. Now you reminded me. Last time we talked about hitting just 100K. Now we're at right below 100K. Wow, this show is definitely something to remember.
Yeah.
Great, great. Pravaan, how about you? Me do an introduction.
I'm good. I'm good, Anson. Thanks for inviting us to the show. And yeah, we are back to 100K Bitcoin, and ETH Petra upgrade is going live. Just a bit about myself. I work as a senior quantitative analyst. I have been analyzing a lot of cryptos. I've been analyzing blockchains from an investment perspective. I have traded, I have invested fundamentally, and I can definitely say that fundamental research is the way to go if you are looking for a long term perspective.
Great. I have a lot of questions to ask because someone recently put up a post as they're writing about like what's in their portfolio, and they were like 97% Bitcoin, 1% fiat, and 2% something else. And for me right now, it's 99% Bitcoin and 1% fiat. I don't know which one to put, which one to trust to actually put. So this is the right show for me to also ask these questions. But before that, I want to understand from you guys how was ICR born? Why did you guys want to do it?
Um, well, I could start from my journey on how I got into crypto. So I've been in the space since 2017, 2018. That's when my journey began. I was still into my engineering second year, and just I was just doing internships, trying to figure out what I want to do. And I used to write stuff on Quora, and that's when I met one of a friend who was a techie. He once took a session during one of our meetups, and he spoke a lot about blockchain as an upcoming technology. Blockchain as he defined blockchain as it's the internet of the 90s, right? He talked about the use cases of one of the three big coins back then, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. And I was quite intrigued with this. And throughout this, something really struck to me about Ripple as a token that, okay, maybe this technology or some particular tokens, especially when like Bitcoin and Ripple, if used in peer-to-peer transactions, they could actually have potential to replace fiat in the long run, right? But over time, so I started investing in it, whatever I could gather from my internship stipend. But over time, a lot of new coins kept coming in. There was a lot of noise into the space, and I started exploring each of these tokens, and I realized that not every token is investable, right? So there has to be one way or few ways on figuring out how we can separate really good ones or the legit ones from the ones that have no utility whatsoever. Uh, and because ultimately, if you want to invest in something, the best way to do it is go to its fundamentals, go to the roots of it, right? And for cryptos initially, yes, it was the community, it was the team, but the technology behind it, right? So everything regarding a project is happening on chain. So now when you look at it, there are about 10,000 crypto tokens, there are 10,000 cryptos whose price is being tracked on CoinMarketCap, but there are over 15 million cryptos that are listed on CoinMarketCap, right? So it's so easy for any retailers or people like us to just get lost. And if we see, there's a recent stat published by CoinGecko that more than 50% of the cryptos that are launched since 2021 are dead.
Mm.
More than 50% cryptos launched in 2025 are already dead, and it's already May. We are not even halfway there in the year.
Yeah.
right? So
And they
so
and
easy.
then we don't even know that they're dead. Like they just go like that. They will never go to zero. They just 0.00001, right?
Exactly. They pump like 1,000,000% in
That's
24 hours and then they are gone. And this is also because it's just so easy to create cryptos. Like one crypto gets generated every 10 seconds on pump.fun, right? So again, the retail is feeling so lost. So we were just wanted to build something where we can help the retailers to separate the legit ones from the noise and give them a bit of a direction. Because think of it like the stock market in the 90s, right? In the 90s or in the 80s, 90s in India, people used to look at stock markets as a gambling market. There was a famous Hindi term called a satta bazaar. So that's how people used to look at it. But over time, retailers went in, pitched, betted really high on the penny stocks and lost a lot of money. There were whales, or how we call whales. There were institutions who used to manipulate the markets. But over a period of time, it got into a very structured format of the market because of fundamental research. People started analyzing companies based on what they are doing, what is the revenue model, what is the business they are getting, or what is the business they are generating, right? So this is where crypto is, I believe, right now. That right now there's a lot of noise. There are some really amazing cryptos or really amazing projects that are doing really good work and generating insane revenues that are going to last for the long term. And a lot of it are just revolving around, let's say, incentivizing the communities. And there are a lot of projects that don't even need tokens. So that's where the idea of ICR came in, India Crypto Research came in, where we said, hey, this we will help people separate signal from noise. We will guide you as a retailer that okay, do not chase 100x returns in like 30 days or 10x in 2 days. But look at this crypto as a really long game. This is a really long game. You gotta pick the right set of coins. You gotta believe in the technology and not just some meme coin or shit coin, as they call it. And the only way to do that is going fundamental, going on chain. So that's where ICR was born.
But how? That's great. Because I mean, I'm just thinking out from my head. ICR, and I know about ICR from you guys. The one that I knew about before was by Mizari. Mizari. How different are you guys compared to them? Are they also analyzing coins? Actually, I haven't looked at the website for quite a while, so I don't know if they pivoted, but are they still doing the same thing, or are they competing with you?
Uh, no, we are not competing. What Masari is doing, yes, they are doing some sort of fundamental research, but what they are doing is they're doing it for the institutions. They are
Oh,
doing it for all the big players. Where we land in is we want to help retailers because ultimately it is the community, it is us crypto community, the people. Let's say we all know that the crypto people investing in crypto, right? The people who are building this technology are in the age group of like 25 to about say 40-45 years, the majority of it, right? And these are not high net worth individuals. These are not uh, institutions, but these are retail people who are ultimately going to become the backbone of the community. So these are the people that we are looking at, and we just want to have this idea push out that fundamental research, on-chain analysis is the way to go, and have retailers, have people like us believe in the crypto as a technology, blockchain as a technology, and invest in crypto the right way.
so do you guys have a philosophy behind what you consider as fundamentals? Because just to give you context, obviously for normal financial statements analysis, for stock analysis, when you have a CFA certificate, income, cash flow, and all that, everyone
Correct.
back in the like 5 years ago, they keep saying cryptos are scams because you cannot really see value in them. There is no cash flow. But now that we're seeing it, it's actually not right because a lot of these foundations and so on, they actually charge fees as well. There was a chart that
correct.
recently came out that said that Arbitrum is actually one of the most expensive. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but they were comparing the different fees of different chains. So that's one aspect. But what other aspects from you guys think is part of the fundamental research?
Uh, the best way in layman terms, if I have to go about it, think of every individual blockchain or crypto as an individual company,
Hmm.
right? So how would you evaluate a company based on their business model, based on the revenue model, right? So the two factors, if we get on chain into the blockchain technology, right? So we have the use cases of the cryptos, right? The revenue or the fees that they generate by providing the service, or how many people engage with the blockchain, the network, right? In terms of valuation, we have something called as the PF ratio or price to fees ratio, which is again synonymous to price to earnings ratio we have in our traditional stock markets, right? We have an NVT ratio. We have that basically tracks the ratio of market cap to its network transaction volume, right?
Interesting.
Apart from usual valuation metrics, there are certain project-specific metrics that we see. The active addresses or the active users on the network, right? There are a lot of adoption metrics on how widely that particular network or blockchain, or an anonymous word for it, a synonymous word for it would be the company, is adopted by the masses, right? So active addresses for let's say tokens like smart contract platforms or the certain DeFi tokens who engage in liquid staking and stuff, right? Lending, borrowing protocols. You see how much value is locked or staked over there in those protocols, right? So that essentially turns out that this is the belief that people have in the network, right?
Wow.
Then to control the inflation, you have the burning of the supply. You see the entire tokenomics on how widely, what is the holding distribution of the particular token. So a lot of metrics when we go on chain is being defined into the blockchain network that we can track, and that is how we can analyze a crypto or a blockchain in a very fundamental manner.
Wow. So actually, all quantitative is actually possible. Do you need to be like a
Yes.
crazy quant to actually understand, or do they have to read your report, or would they be able to learn to somehow have the right concept and they can also see it for themselves?
Well, if you want to like dive into if you want to look at this, so essentially, okay, let me begin here. So it is definitely not rocket science. It is very simple to understand. There are not like 100 metrics that we track, right? Fundamental research essentially boils down to like 10, 15 key metrics or parameters. Again, these would be segregated project wise as to what metrics or parameters are relevant to what kind of projects, right? Or cryptos. So that's one thing. Second, you need, because on chain, people, even right now, if you see a lot of crypto investors, they look at Bitcoin price or Ethereum price or price of Solana or the price of Ripple or Tron, whatever. But they don't really go to, let's say, bitcoin.org, or they don't go to Etherscan, or they don't go to SoulScan, right? Where you can see the entire network activity that is happening, right? And again, because there are millions of users, millions of transactions happening every single day, worth billions of dollars, right? So it becomes very difficult to make sense of all those small data points. So what we do is we aggregate these data, we analyze these data, we make out these metrics on how they are changing over a period of time, how one metric, let's say how TVL of Solana compares with the TVL of Ether, or how the valuation of Bitcoin compares with the, let's say, the valuation of Ripple or Ethereum, right?
Right.
And this is how this is where we step in. We analyze this on-chain data. We make sense of this very small, really vast data points, and create our research and provide our insights around it. And again, so you need some sort of, at the end of the day, whatever research and insight you provide, it has to be actionable. It has to be quantified enough, right? let's say a Bitcoin is at a PF ratio of 6,000. Ethereum is at a PF ratio of, let's say, 300, right? But both are very different businesses, right? How do you make sense of this data? How, like, there is no action that you can take by saying that the PF ratio of Bitcoin is 6,000 or the PF ratio of Ethereum is 300 or PF ratio of, let's say, you pick a random meme coin is off the roof, right? So that's where we came up with ICR score or India Crypto Research score. So what it does is we take all these metrics across different categories. We analyze them, we normalize them, and we have created this. So, and we just come up with a number between 0 and 100 with a very basic principle. 0 means the coin does not really have a strong fundamental or strong on-chain strength, and higher the score, the more it goes towards 100. It means that it displays on-chain strength and it has the project or the crypto has a stable fundamentals.
So is it often updated or what? Like how does it work? Like for example, now everything is crashing, things are going up. Would you be able to say which one is undervalued and overvalued? By the way, to all the viewers, I'm not being paid for this. I really want to learn as well how this works. Okay, so just want to continue.
Right.
We update this. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so we update the score on a monthly basis because it's fundamental. It's not technical indicators. Our scores don't really change or are is not really as
Oh.
volatile as the price of Bitcoin or price of cryptos in general, right? So again, the basis of fundamental research is that it's the foundation, right? You are looking at its on-chain strength. You are looking at the strength of the project and not the strength of its price. If you are into trading, then yes, ICR score is not for you because there are a lot of technical indicators. There are like hundreds of technical indicators. You shortlist 4 or 5 technical indicators and just have your trades around some support lines or resistance lines or some charting formation that you have.
But do you know like back then, like when Warren Buffett got me interested in the value investing, right? So value investing is also
Right.
somehow calculating the sort of value to see whether it's overvalued or not. And there's this value investing magazine. They always would tell about like say the numbers. So is there a way? Because if you are able to say that it's sort of where it's going, even though the project is good, I think it will be very useful. Even I would like to know what you guys think that if this price is undervalued based on the fundamental research. Is there any sort of metrics or way towards going towards that?
Definitely. So essentially, then there are two valuation metrics per se. One is, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, PF ratio and the NVT ratio, right? So let's talk about PF ratio. So PF ratio, again, let me just take a step back and compare this because you mentioned Warren Buffett, right? And you mentioned stock markets. So if we link it to the stock markets, how we have different sectors, right? So sectors like banks or IT usually run at a valuation levels that are lower than the sectors like, let's say, pharma or defense, right? So if I have to take example of Indian stock markets, right? So defense sector usually runs at a valuation of about 45-50. IT sector runs at a valuation of, let's say, about 26-27. Infrastructure real estate sector again runs at a valuation of about 36 to 40 levels. Now, these are the normal valuations, right? Based on historical data, based on the premium people are willing to pay to purchase a share of that particular stock or in that particular sector, right? So similarly, in crypto, because while Bitcoin is the gold standard of crypto, it's used in peer-to-peer transactions. We can categorize cryptos into many different categories, right? So we have smart contract platforms like Ethereum, right? We have DeFi protocols like, let's say, DAO, right? We have many more different categories. We have centralized exchanges that run on a very different model. We have decentralized exchanges that run on a very different model, right? So the valuations of these uh, the valuations of cryptos that go into these different categories would be scaled at a different way. So when we are looking at Bitcoin, we compare the valuations of Bitcoin with only other digital currencies. And because, as I mentioned, right, Bitcoin right now, because after the pump, it pumped from 94 to 99 right now. It's going at like above 6,000, 7,000 levels. But the valuation of a smart contract platform like Ethereum would be somewhere around 300 to 400 right now, or the PF ratio, I mean, by valuation, right? So that's really not comparable. You couldn't really say that Bitcoin is very overvalued as compared to Ethereum or as compared to, but we could compare the valuation levels of, let's say, Ethereum and Solana or Bitcoin along with, let's say, Ripple or Dogecoin, some those digital currencies. That's where,
Interesting.
so that's how you look at the valuations per se,
Okay.
because crypto as a market is still the, so in stock markets these valuations are now established standards because stock markets has been existed for more than half a century right now, right? But crypto is still pretty young. We are still like 10 years into the existence of cryptos. 90% of the cryptos that are existing right now have been launched after 2020, right? So about 95% of them are launched after the 2017-18 cycle. We had an ICO cycle driving the narrative of the 2017-18, right? Where a lot of projects were launched as companies. We had NFTs that have been launched in the that drove the narrative of the 21-22 cycle, right? But what we are seeing right now is we are moving away from the cycle, and crypto is being getting ingrained into traditional asset classes with participation from the government, from the institutions. So it is still pretty young. The valuations level, we could say, if we have to compare it with the history, the a certain level, while we can establish a certain benchmark for each valuation level for every, let's say, category, but because there's a lot of projects keep on coming in and going out, and we are still pretty young, and the future is like instant. If we look at the adoption curve of blockchain technology, right, it's gonna just explode from here. So a lot of things are gonna be said. So the best way to look at it is say category wise or sector wise, on how the, let's say, you bunch a group of cryptos that have similar business model or a revenue model. They might definitely not be the same, but you can definitely categorize them, and then you compare within themselves.
That's so interesting because I remember Brian Armstrong said in one of the posts that there's so many coins coming up today that they need a new way on how to evaluate the different coins going onto the exchange. So everyone is still trying to find a way on how to filter out the real shit coins, right? So now someone
Right.
also said on X that the word altcoin now needs to be, it's different from shitcoins. Shitcoin needs to be qualified to get into the altcoin category now, right? So if you guys can really find a way and the whole world can somehow use your blueprint, then all the exchanges won't have that much of a headache when they do their listing. Right now, it's one exchange is doing this, and then they will, some of them will then follow, right? Follow them to do it. But we also have another problem. For example, Binance, they don't really list as much now, especially after the case that CZ went to jail for, right? They're much more careful now. But do you want to go and follow the exchanges like Mexi or BigGet, all of them doing it? You also don't want to. So the ones that want to do it right are finding it hard on how to evaluate these tokens going onto the exchange. So if you guys have a method that can go on scale, it will be definitely very helpful for the whole ecosystem.
Right, and that's where we have just simplified it so much for everyone to understand that it's just a scoring system between 0 and 100, and let's say the India Crypto Research Score, or the ICR score as we call it. So how we have made our models, right? So we have defined it that a ICR score of above 70, that usually means that project investing in that project is because if you're investing in that project, you're investing in something that is stable fundamentals and shows really good on-chain strength, right? If you decided if the ICR score is between, let's say, 55 and 70, right? Then maybe they have good fundamentals, but they might warrant some sort of caution. Something might be fishy over there in those projects that are essentially it's behind something, something is happening on the back, but it's not entirely out yet. And everything up below 55, you can just discard it. And I think that's where you can make a hard line between shitcoins and altcoins.
Yes, interesting. Great. Let's move to a much bigger macro scale. Um, India itself. Okay, so the at least from the outside looking in, we are always seeing India influx in terms of where the regulations are going. Uh, but one thing that is very certain is Indians, you guys really, when things are uncertain, would really like to buy gold. Okay, gold is the main safe haven. I don't know if it's from the narrative from the outside. Is it true on the street? This is where I need to ask you guys. Is it same for now? Bitcoin as a narrative competing with gold on the ground in India?
There are some advertisements that have played that way for exchanges, and I mean, like on Dhanteras, etc., you would find this kind of advertising. So Dhanteras is basically a special occasion in India wherein, like, people go and it is auspicious to buy gold.
Mhm.
So basically, gold is quite ingrained in the culture wherein, like, during weddings, the woman would wear a lot of gold. In general, like, there are different occasions wherein buying gold would be auspicious. So in general, like, the Indian, an average Indian would like accumulate a lot of gold throughout the year for their either for their women or in terms of say gold bars or whatever as an investment. So it's been a very strong investment, retail investment thesis since long. Here you have like sovereign gold bonds wherein you can even get loans against your gold and so on. So it's quite ingrained. And so what like a lot of these Indian exchanges have tried to push on is like Bitcoin is digital gold, and during these auspicious days, instead of gold, you get Bitcoin or get both and so on.
Is it working?
So not sure that way, but definitely like so India is still like if you see like it's in terms of the number of users, crypto users, like India is like number one. If you see any top exchange in India,
Yeah.
then they have like over like 20 million users or in that range.
Yeah.
So overall, like there are more than 100 million accounts in India that hold crypto.
Yeah, that was
So
that's why the question I asked, because I know the Indian users top the world in terms of like the holdings of it. So, but on the ground, in terms of uh, adoption, like there's so many places already talking about Bitcoin, strategic Bitcoin reserves. That the West is talking
yeah,
about the US, of course, right? And I'm trying to push Singapore as well. I know Singapore is always doing things discreetly, so maybe they already are
right.
doing it, but we never know. But is we I don't hear much from India. Is Have you seen much news on this? Is India thinking about also trying to be in the space of creating some sort of reserve?
No, that's not in the plan, like anywhere in the plans of India, at least the government perspective. And even here, like retail users, you're taxed like 30% on your profits,
Mm.
and you can't even offset that. So, I mean, it's not really pro crypto. At least, like India, a few years back, it banned crypto and anyone from holding crypto, like back in 2018, for 2 years. In 2020, they uplifted the ban. And like owning crypto during that period was illegal. Now it is absolutely legal. You can hold crypto, but then you're taxed like 30%. And say like if you have like say you buy $2,000 of Bitcoin and $2,000 of Ethereum. Now the price of Ethereum drops by 50%, which happened recently, and Bitcoin shoots by 50%, right? So ideally you be in a position wherein you're no profit, no loss. But in India, like you'll have to pay tax on You have profit on Bitcoin, but you can't offset that against your loss in Ethereum. So it's not a very trade friendly ecosystem either. When you buy crypto from an exchange in India, the average transaction fee is like 0.5%. And if you compare that with Binance or something like that, it's generally the market standard is 0.1%.
Yeah.
So right now, like, uh, I would say like a lot of people are enthusiastic about crypto in India. A lot of retail still hold crypto in India. But I mean, like from the government side, like the way Trump has been doing it, he's like completely encouraging people to, like get into crypto, like helping businesses out. Like it, crypto businesses were always like seen a little shady and scammy long back, but now the perception is slowly changing. And so this generally comes with like government efforts and so on. But here it's still uh, there's still no signs of that. In fact, like I mean, there are scams everywhere, right? Like you can lose money. Like someone will call you, and it could be a bank transfer that you do, or credit card scam that you have. But if there's a Bitcoin scam, it gets
Yes,
covered and
amplified.
like, yeah, amplified. So I mean, but we do think that like as we go on, like the main thing is that India wants to regulate it, right? So unfortunately, they're not finding ways to properly regulate it. And like what stops someone from like holding a lot of say Bitcoin and then like say going to a different country where it is tax free. I don't want to name, but and then they sell it there. So it's like Indian money going out. That's what the government does not want. Like they want to have like it being regulated. They want to see that there's no other loophole like that. If we are able to, a lot of people are working in this space and working with the governments and trying to help them out, make tracking easier and so on.
So, so,
So
so
if that, yeah,
no, no. So this is where I am. I really want to learn because if we're talking about capital controls, Indonesia also has capital controls, but Indonesia has got their act together in terms of who the exchanges, the payments. They actually have everything separate. But I'm just still wondering why, especially India is in the Commonwealth as well. Commonwealth, my
yeah.
partner in crime, Loretta Joseph, has written a model law for the whole Commonwealth. It's written very well. They can actually take that as a template and they can put it in the country and then obviously customize it. Singapore has one. And because India is Commonwealth, they can also reference what Singapore has. My confusion right now is, does India really have the heart to try and regulate this properly? Like, what are you seeing inside on the ground? Do they really want to, or they just worried that it grows too big and that's why they want to regulate? Which way is it?
So right now, what I see is that they don't think that this is one of their major, things where they need to focus on.
Hmm.
Right now, it's kind of like even if you see the bills that are passed in the parliament and all, right? Like crypto is not picked up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Purvang. Like recently, there have been some bills that would be taken up. Will work on it, but it's not taken up as a hot topic. So it's kind of like deprioritized. They have kind of like just put it like there's 30% tax, and like there's this kind of ambiguity uh, in all this. And I mean, like it's not moving ahead. We don't see much of efforts put there. I also feel because like like this is one of my thinking that way as well. Like when you say like in India, if you buy crypto, right, you do it generally via USDT or USDC. So indirectly, you're buying the dollar.
Hmm.
Uh, so the Indian rupee is already kind of like weakening slowly, and I think like they don't see much of an advantage wherein like probably like for the US, because like people will buy more USDT or USDC globally. It could be beneficial for them, whereas there is no benefit for India as such.
But so this is the thing, right? So, but before I want to ask this question, I have another one. Does India have any stable coins at the moment that people are testing or made from the
No,
markets? Interesting.
no.
Because
So we have a
yeah,
right.
please go ahead.
So we have a CBDC, but that's completely like a private blockchain. We do have like the technology. It's called the digital e-rupee, and I mean it's a good technology. Technology wise, it's pretty good. Its adoption again has not been that high. It is programmable. You can program certain use cases into your wallets and so on. But the adoption has not been as great. But the government still wants to push on that line when they say that like so the stance of the government is that the blockchain technology is good. They see like being able to program money is good, but it should be with the INR and it shouldn't be volatile. Like it shouldn't be seen as a different currency or a different payment method or having an asset value to it or something like that. So they want to see it very much as a use case of the blockchain, wherein they are able to program certain rules. Like for example, I I 100% like this money will come from here to here, and then like 0.5% will go from there to there. Things like that, right? Which you can program. So that's how that's how they're seeing it. Yeah, but you were asking something.
Oh no.
Oh,
So no. So no. I was the next part I was saying was
The stable coin in
yes on
India.
the stable coins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the stable because with my I have a group of it's not friends actually the regulators uh, in their personal capacity are helping on writing out stablecoins model law for the Commonwealth as well. Even though India is not adopting, but a lot of African countries are already adopting the virtual assets model law. That's why you see Ghana getting their virtual asset regime done. Africa is actually leapfrogging everybody in terms of getting the
Yeah.
regimes done. And now we're getting the stable coins one as well. So this one maybe somehow, if someone can see this and on the ground, if someone's good at regulation, can also champion this. But one thing I want to say is, I was at the Financial Action Task Force meeting last year. Was it last year or the year before? No, it was last year, and it was funny because in Vienna, what happens is that usually a lot of different delegations from different countries go there. From obviously all the Europeans go there, the US, the Chinese were there as well. So the whole delegation of PBOC was there. I was very shocked because this is the first time I actually seen them inside the meeting. Every Financial Action Task Force meeting, especially for the virtual asset meetings, they were never there. Never there. So when they were there, okay, I want to see what they are going to say. So they asked one very question which validated my mindset. They were like, okay, so we have a CBDC on trial for quite a while. Okay, this is the Chinese yuan, the yuan, right? The Chinese yuan. We have a problem right now. We are both the regulator and the player at the same time. Okay, so unlike normal central banks where you, for example, you print the cash, you're not the one that is distributing to others. It's the banks, right? But if a central bank is also controlling the wallet, you've become the player where you don't have a supervisor. They actually asked the question to FedF, what should we do? They actually asked everyone obviously had no answer because they were the first one testing. But even till today,
True.
we have that problem because when you are both the player and the regulator, there will be conflict of interest, right? So this is the first part. I don't know if India actually thought about that. Second is the elephant in the room is the bank run. When something goes wrong, if you put your whole system in CBDC, it's going to run so fast that you may not be able to control, right? That's why I'm seeing some of the CBDC projects around the world. It's for political gain, and then it sort of paused. Indonesia was like that. Okay, it sort of went for a while, and then now it paused because someone was for political gain trying to push it. But we have that problem of left pocket and right pocket. It's the same person. So I don't know where
Right.
India is, but this is my thought on CBDC right now. Hey,
Right.
how about
And
your
I
thoughts?
think, yeah. So I think India is also trying to answer the same question somewhere. While they have, of course, there was a ban. There was an outright ban in 2018 to 22 period, as Rohit mentioned. But going ahead, now it's entirely legal. But government does want to keep a check on how where the money is flowing, how the money is flowing, right, into the blockchain technology or into crypto per se, which is why I believe they have, and there's no better way to keep a check on money than taxing that instrument, right? So that's one thing. But in terms of adoption or the belief in technology by the government, I believe. So let me just give you a couple of examples. So there's this Dantewada district in the Chhattisgarh
Mm.
state in India. It has digitized 7 lakh land records on the AVAX blockchain,
Hmm.
right? Very recently, India did a oil trade with UAE, the Indian Oil Corporation, uh, did a oil trade of 1 million barrels, right? So that was worth about $80 million in dollar term, and the trade was executed using XRP ledger system.
Hmm.
So Indian government actually converted this rupee into about 130 million XRP sort of during that period when XRP was back in 21 trading at about I think 60 cents or so whatsoever. And the transaction was calculated and was credited to the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, right?
Interesting.
So there is, so I think India is adopting the technology. India is adopting the uh, ecosystem or the blockchain as a whole, but somewhere they believe, as you mentioned, key right with the state of CBDCs and having too much power, it can just like go off the roof. So you might not have a check. So that is where we are lagging behind. We are not allowing big institutions, we're not allowing retailers to have invest in cryptos by coming up with tax laws and coming up with bills that would essentially uh, demotivate you to invest in the asset class.
Wow. Even though the government
So,
is still holding back, but the demand in India is still growing on the ground. So
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
this needs to balance.
right.
Otherwise it's a missed
And
opportunity.
yeah, maybe India needs to. I don't know if they're already doing it because there has been no news of them doing it. But I think I'm of the view that we need to just maybe there are certain models that are made by US, that are made by certain countries that are already working, right, to keep a check on cryptos. Like in US, if you want to buy cryptos, you can only buy via exchanges that are in US, right? You cannot buy via exchanges listed outside of US, right? So this is their way of regulating it and taxing based on the normal tax capital gains tax rules that they have over there. So maybe certain models are replicable. Certain models maybe we need to collaborate with certain people and figure out the best way on how to increase the adoption and how to actually get blockchain into the play. And Rohit would also might add more to this, but a lot of people, a lot of developers, right, they are going outside of India to build
Yeah.
things,
Oh.
right? We have lost so many talent just because building something strong in blockchain is difficult in India because of these regulations.
Hmm. And payments definitely
So you
it's
have
a
to,
no-no
yeah,
already.
if you're building a DApp, you need to allow crypto payments through your platform. And it's unclear then, like, like what happens. And then you also have to pay salary. So you might have to sell some of that, some of your profits, and then but then there's no regulations against that. If someone's working, like say in a remote crypto job here and gets USDC payment, there's no like clear guidelines as to like what kind of tax he has to pay. Is it like just blanket highest 30% tax, or like how is that? How does that work? So a lot of things are kind of not, and I've seen like mostly like companies that come out of India in the crypto space are mostly exchanges. Like there are some other L1s that have come out, and like some dApps that have come out, but like most of them are just exchanges. And here in exchanges, even in exchanges here, like they don't allow self custody easily. So what people are doing is they're trying to get into P2P platforms, and then again the government is coming and blocking bank accounts of those who are selling in P2P, because again the tax reporting is not clear. So I feel like everything is kind of a little messy over here, and what we need is like India has literally like the best tech talent that I feel like, comparable to even the Silicon Valley. And what we need is an encouraging environment for people to build over here. Like if you want to build something big, and like as we see, like crypto market cap has reached more than 3 trillion, and there's no point holding. It's just going to be bigger and bigger. And there's like we should find a way wherein like we get a share of it instead of just kind of trying to curb it till it gets to 10 trillion, 20 trillion. And
Yes,
so, but
others
but
be
good,
left
one good
behind.
part is, yeah, one good part is that like we do have like, even in India, like a lot of people, the talent is there. Like, people are learning, people are working for crypto companies abroad. The talent is there. There's definitely something, we can build.
Is there like a non-profit or working group that people can go to that becomes the voice to talk to the government? Is there an association that helps front it? Any in India right now?
Not as far as I know, but I remember like earlier on, it used to be like the founders of exchanges and so on who tried to lead it. And there are also, I mean, there are like some people in the crypto space who are trying to work with the government and so on to convince them on certain things. I know there are some silent heroes over here, but there's no like proper group. At least I'm not aware of that.
It's not a legal thing, right? It's just haven't formed a united
Yeah,
voice
it's not
on.
illegal. Yeah, it's not illegal. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
that it's not formed. Yeah.
Yeah, because the association that I formed here 10 years ago, I do take credit. It's because of the association fronting the narrative with MAS that we got the whole ecosystem together. So if there was something there in India, I'm pretty sure that can help out. So now let's move on to the last part. We've talked about already the regulation, the adoption. Now we also talked about how your ICR does all the valuations from a fundamental perspective. Let's talk a little bit about the risks. Even today, as a retail investor, there, like you said, there's so many coins. Let's say they don't know ICR right now. What do you think right now is the biggest risk for retail people going into crypto?
So I'll take this up. I'll start with it. I think like the real risk for retail investors. So in India, or like you want, like you're asking
In
in general,
from the Indian perspective, from you, what you're seeing on the ground.
right? So there are like two, three risks over here. One is like I said, right? Like in P2P, like if you like exchanges are not allowing self custody, and what if an exchange fails, right? We've seen that like happen again and again. So you lose your assets along with that. The exchange is going to say that I don't have enough to pay you back, or like might pay you back like 20-30% of it. The other thing is that like when people go on to self custody, like they have to get into Binance or KuCoin or BingX or like some other exchanges like that, which allow P2P. And then like people who are selling on P2P, bank the government is going after their accounts and blocking their accounts. The banks are going after their accounts. So I mean, that's one risk that is there. There's like there's not an easy way to self custody your assets, which is very very important in crypto, right? Like you have to have it in say your ledger or your MetaMask or things like that. But
So you're saying the
It's
exchanges in
kind of,
India is rupees go in, rupees come out. You basically only can
yep,
trade
yep,
the financial exposure.
the
That's it.
price of it.
I see.
That's it. That's it. That's it. So with
Wow.
KYC and all that, they are improving. I recently saw Coin6 also just put up withdrawals with KYC, but I'm not sure. Like everything is limited. Like you can't have a big amount of it, I think, in one go or something like that.
Yeah.
So that becomes one risk. The second risk I feel for retail investors in general is also security, right? Like people don't know how to like
Yep.
properly self custody their assets. People don't know how to like keep their seed phrase secured and things like that. So I really feel that people should also go through this basic security training wherein like they should understand how to keep their seed phrase secured, what kind of wallets are actually secure. I know people who who have lost like NFTs worth like some like two three Ethereum by just clicking on a phishing link by mistake on Discord or something like that, thinking it's an airdrop or something. But yeah, I mean like this security risk should be also broadly understood. And what happens is that once this happens to someone, they're never going to come back in the crypto space, right? So I've also seen like like people saying that they're going to offer like like a gig for development, and they wanted someone to download their Git repository, and in their Git repository they had like a script which sucked
Oh
in like
no.
funds to the MetaMask. So yeah, I mean like there are two. Yeah, broadly I would say there are two risks. One, for the first risk is like like understanding like how to just self custody of funds. It's very hard here, and how to do it properly. And the second is like once you've understood self custody, then you should know how to secure it as well.
Hmm.
So, and like even if you see the distribution of people invested in crypto, like a lot of people from tier 2 and tier 3 Indian cities have like invested in crypto, like around 70-80% come from there. So I really think like also understanding the security aspect of it is again very important, because hacking is like last year was like around $9 billion were hacked
Wow.
globally. And
Oh, globally,
this
yes. Yes.
overall, yeah, the industry also has to work together to kind of figure out how to avoid this.
Yeah, that's why I did just a financial constraint. I mean resource constraint, not financial constraint, on trying to hold international conferences, because I held the V20 summit at the G20 Indonesia and Osaka, and also during COVID as well. And those meetings helped because all the large exchanges were there together. But I can tell you, for the two risks that you were saying, the second one first, I'm also having a problem. Like I would tell my wife, "Hey, can you learn how to use the wallets, please?" And then she says, "You know what? You just do it. It's fine. Okay, you know how to do it. I'll just let you do it." That's the problem, right? Because I want to tell her in case something goes wrong with
Right.
what goes wrong with me, I need to pass it to her.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have the family problem. Even within crypto, I can't solve this thing. And then the first one was the banking. I had been debanked before in 2015, right? And
Okay.
it was very painful. The banks basically said that I was doing some suspicious activity. They won't tell you, but I heard from others. But I was just buying Bitcoin, and they didn't know about it. So that's why when we worked with MAS, our regulator here, for working on the licensing regime, I fully emphasize that this license, we will only work really well together if you solve our bank account issue. So if you get if the company does get a license, they are allowed to bank with a bank and continue the normal crypto activities, meaning that they can also send a Bitcoin crypto out. And yeah, MAS agreed to get to a point to that, and yeah, it's very important to not only just have the license that allows crypto, but the banks must come together. So it's a three-way, it's a tripartite agreement to get it done. Yeah.
I just Yeah, so I just like to add to the retail risk part. I mean, yes, these are very tangible risks that people, especially in India, are facing, right? But I believe one of the most important thing is risk is the opportunity risk. The opportunity cost that people are
Right.
missing out on investing in such a great technology or such a great asset class per se, right? So with all of these roadblocks, I would say, right, you're not able to invest or get, you're just, even with most of the instruments like exchanges in India, you, as Rohit mentioned, right, you are not actually holding the Bitcoin. You're just getting price exposure to it. Exchanges are holding the crypto, right? So again, there are only about like 2 million Bitcoins left to mine, right? And we talk a lot about self custody. We talk about actually owning your cryptos. As the saying goes, not your keys, not your cryptos, right? Self custody is the game. Like that is how you truly own your cryptos. Yes, a lot of people feel safe to how to, let's say, invest in cryptos via ETFs, right?
Yeah.
Or via some sort of funds. I remember, but we always have Bitcoin as the standard for digital gold. And I remember, Anson, with our in a previous conversation, you mentioned that in Singapore you can't really buy gold; you only get the price exposure to it,
Yeah.
right? So that is where I think we are heading for Bitcoin. Very soon, the supply is gonna drain out. Very soon, the only way you can get the exposure is the price exposure, but not by truly holding the coins. So even in India, if we are, let's say, really fast able to come up with the right framework, of course, the laws that keeps track the way government wants to, while keeping the sense of decentralization, which is where the entire blockchain technology is based on. So the sooner we get to this, the less the opportunity cost would be, I believe.
Yes, and it's not just on the mining. I did a video on synthetic mining where Michael Saylor is actually making the supply constraint even worse, right? So the
Trying all of it.
chance, yeah, the chances of, and then there's a lot of posts saying that the exchanges they don't have enough crypto, and they're trying to link that because people are buying and taking it out to keep. No, that's not the narrative. We have a structural problem. There's really not enough Bitcoin. There's not enough. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. So exchanges are going to cut off one day as well, saying that you can't take Bitcoin out. You can have the exposure, and they are just hedging with the exchanges. They're hedging their risk with other ETFs or the futures and so on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So we have reached the 1 hour mark, so I want to also wrap this up. I want to ask you guys, for people that want to know more about ICR, uh, if they really want to go deeper into it, what do they do first? Obviously, go to the website, but in terms of their mindset to look at this, what is uh, what should they be thinking when they go to your website?
okay, I'll start and then maybe Rohit, you can take it up. But I think the first thing is to have the mindset that look at it in the longer duration time frame, right? And this crypto is a long game because there has been so
Right.
much hype about. We know a lot of Telegram groups, we know a lot of Twitter channels that, uh, let's say, post that okay, this is how you can make 10x in 2 days or 10x in 2 hours per se, right? That is not the way to go about it. Look at it from a longer time duration. Have look at it fundamentally, because in the right tokens is of utmost importance. Otherwise, you are gonna get derailed. Some whale is gonna definitely dump on you. So having the longer time frame, longer horizon, the technology blockchain itself is just like 10 years old. This is gonna like completely shape how the world works, right? And there is a long way to go. Yes, adoption has been increasing across the world, but there is still a very long way to go. Don't panic. Don't get lured in with high returns. Don't chase those things. Have a fundamental framework in mind, and with the right mindset, you will definitely make the most out of this.
Great, great, great. Rohit, you want to say something?
Yeah, I definitely want to add on to it. So, at like ICR, like we are also coming up with this global metrics dashboard very soon,
Mm.
which like we also want to have people like come in every day and get all the necessary important on-chain metrics that they need to know at one shot, right? So you see, like there are many important things like Bitcoin hash rate, or you can see the number of stable coins that are there, like total stable coin market cap, whether it's increasing, decreasing. Something new tether is minted on, say, Tron network. What does that mean? Like you have 2 billion USDT minted on Tron network. That's what mostly that's going to go into buying Bitcoin or other crypto, right? So like every important thing that you need to know, like we have it in one dashboard that's coming up. And like how your initial question on how to use ICR, I believe, like is that, like, my journey, I started buying. Everyone starts with buying Bitcoin, right? Like who, like, because everyone knows about Bitcoin, so everyone starts buying Bitcoin. The price goes up really fast, and then everyone gets very interested into what it is and all that, and then they start reading. But somewhere I think people get lost, greedy for like very quick wins. Like I think everyone has at least tried investing in like some influencer based marketing, thinking that
Trump
it will
coin.
go up.
Hello.
But definitely Trump coin, and like I think everyone is guilty of that. And but I'm pretty sure, like, like only 1% of those people have actually made money on these coins, other than the influencers themselves. So like the idea is that, like, everything important to make long term wealth, that you need to know, every kind of fundamental research that you need to do to pick one coin, or like two coins, or five coins, or whatever, like your portfolio that you want to make. But they should all be strong, fundamentally strong coins, that like you don't have to like keep checking the price in your sleep if it's not zero yet, right?
Yes.
So that's the idea.
Great, great. Thanks, Rohit. I think
It
Pavang
was,
just froze, but it's
yeah, I think
okay.
so.
So I just want to let everyone know we have over 170 people that viewed this show.
Amazing.
So thank you so much on this. And yeah, so I am a one-man show. I don't have a producer. So obviously, when I play
You're,
around with this, you can
you're
see that if
doing
Pavang is gone, uh, that's where the
a
problem is. But it's okay. So thank you so much, Rohit, and please help me thank Pavang as well. So for all the viewers, every single Thursday, I will get people from the crypto space that are really in the trenches, working from exchanges to regulation to, for example, ICR, the ICR team, to add value not only for myself and for everyone here as well. And so for what's going on next would be there will be clips coming out, so it's easier to digest. And then yeah, please do watch out for the YouTube channel and for more of the videos and the newsletter. Otherwise, thank you again, Rohit. And
Thank you
for
so much,
thank you so
Anson.
much for the
And like,
US people. Please have a great day, and for Asia, and I think for yourselves as well. For Asia, have a great night. Thank you. See you
thanks,
soon.
yeah, and all the best, Anson. I hope this you kill this show.
Thank you so
Doing
much,
an
Rohit.
amazing job, and I think like as much awareness as possible is good, especially in your strength areas like regulations and so on. I think like the impact that you're going to bring would be amazing. So
Thank you so
all
much.
the
I
best.
hope one day I can help India as well.
100%.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
so
Anson.
much.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye.